was a solo over the verse section of Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears off their 1985 album Songs from the Big Chair. Could you tell if I was soloing over my recreation of it or the original track? Well, I shall tell you later on when I show you my recreation on the computer. So my idea for this video was to see if I could recreate a major label recording on my laptop. Well, not this laptop because this one's broken, but I did it on my other computer. In the UK in 1985, the average salary was about £9,000. Today, the average salary is about £32,000. So roughly, everything's about 3.5 times more expensive now, relatively. The first thing I thought I'd do was compare how much things cost back in 1985 compared to what they do now. Pre-internet, as a consumer in the UK, you would always look through your Argos catalogue. Argos is a shop which is still going now, but the catalogue's now online. But you'd have the catalogue at home and you'd look through and have all kinds of toys, you'd have clocks, watches, exercise bikes, car seat covers. So here's a few interesting comparisons. Trivial Pursuit, which was available in 1985. This is a picture from the original catalogue. In 1985 it cost £21.95. Today it's £23. So in real terms, the Trivial Pursuit from 1985 cost £70 in today's money. Now this was the cheapest TV you could buy in the Argos catalogue in 1985. It's a black and white tiny portable TV and it cost £50. That white portable TV in today's money is about £175. The cheapest TV you can buy now is £99 and it's this flat screen one. Moving on to musical instruments, the cheapest home keyboard you could buy was this one for £69, which in today's money is about £250. This is the cheapest one you can buy now, which is only £25. It looks like it's a similar spec to its 1985 counterpart. So then, to compare what recording equipment costs compared to what it costs now. These days, you get a laptop, something like this, a MacBook for about 1,500 quid, or you could maybe get a PC, slightly cheaper. A sequencer, some of them you can get for free, open source ones, or if you're going to buy a reasonable one, anything between £200 and £500. And then you'll probably need some software synthesizers, something like Native Instruments Complete for about £500, or there's other cheaper or even free bits of software you could use. So that with a sound card and maybe some speakers, you're probably looking at about maximum of £3,000 to get you started. Back in 1985, you were probably unlikely to be able to have all the equipment at home. The Tears for Fears album cost £70,000 to record back in 1985, which in today's money is about £250,000. This is one of about 10 tracks, so you're looking at about £25,000 if you wanted to record this track. So I looked into how much it would have been if you wanted to record this at home. Now, it's prohibitively expensive. The 24-track tape machine they used was about $60,000 or about £40,000. The Soundcraft mixing desk would have been about £15,000. Here's an invoice from one back from the mid-80s. Now the synths they used, which all gets included in the software you can buy these days, the Fairlight they were using on this record, they cost about £30,000 at the time. So multiply that up 3.5 times, we're looking at over £100,000. They also used the Oberheim DMX drum machine, which was £2,000 back then, so again that's about £7,000 in today's money. Also a Linn drum machine, which was about £3,000. So that now would be, sums here, that would be over £10,000. And a Yamaha DX7 as well, which was about £1,500 back then, so we're looking at, that's about £5,000. So in totals, just for that equipment, just for the synthesizers, the mixing desk and the tape machine, all of that would have been, in 1985, about £150,000. So if we multiply that up, we're looking at over £500,000 just for the basic equipment just to get started. So compare that to about probably £3,000 or less to do the similar thing these days. But now I've got to see whether I can actually get anywhere close to sounding like it. So let me show you how I've tried to recreate the track. Okay, so let's have a look at the session and the synth sounds that I've come up with to try and copy it. Now, I think my favourite bit, or the closest I got to the original, was the very beginning 4 notes, a little pickup, these ones. So that's my version, this is the original. I've actually played the guitar part. And then the choir sound, now I believe that was originally played on the Fairlight. I've used a sound in Massive called Fairlight Vox, and a second sound in Form, which is part of Native Instruments Complete. This sound is called Formantic. I normally use a preset and then do my best to tweak it and get it as close as I can. So I've layered up those two sounds. I think this is my least successful part of it. This choir sound is close, but it's not quite there. So let me play the whole thing. And then the original. Got more of an airy sound, the original, but I couldn't find a sound to match it. But I think that very beginning bit's pretty close. And the only other part in this section is just the hi-hats, which I'm using I guess a sample of a Linn drum, which I know is one of the drum machines I used on this. The track starts with this simple but brilliant guitar part. Now I've had to tune the guitar 30 cents sharp, because that's what the original recording is. It's somewhere between D and E flat. I think it's near a D, but I've read things saying that the track's in E flat, but I think it's somewhere in between. So I've had to tune the guitar slightly sharp, but I'm playing in D, and this is the guitar part. The chord structure of the verse is really interesting, because it's quite a simple idea. It's only using the 4 and the 5 chords, but it's got the pedal of the root note of the song, so it's pedaling D and it goes A, G. I can't think of any other songs that do that. There probably are, but please put in the comments any obvious songs that I'm missing that do exactly that. So in the chorus section it goes up to the 2 minor, E minor in this key, F sharp minor, 3 minor, G major, the 4 chord, back to the 3 minor, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4, 5. So the track is in 12/8. Each beat is divided into 3, so you get that kind of shuffling feel. So you get a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So moving to the next section, the main verse section. The brassy synth was originally played on a Prophet 5. My approach to these isn't trying to find emulations of the original synths. I'm not really a synth person, so what I do is I have a scout round and try and find something similar and then tweak it. So let's have a listen to the whole thing. The main sound I've got is this one. It's called Matrix Brass 3. It's part of the retro machines. I'm not even totally sure what it's a sample of, but it's a vintage synth. Gives you that real 80s warm synth sound. Please put in the comments if you know what that synth is that it's sampled. Then I layered that up with a second synth brass sound. It's a bit more percussive. That is a Pro Lead 5 from Retro Machines. And I could also hear in there, it sounds like it's layered up with a DX7 type piano sound. So I've used this DX7 sound, so this is all 3 of them together. For the drums, apparently they used an Oberheim DMX or Linn drum. This is what they used on the whole album. I'm not sure what they used on this track, but apparently the snare drum on this track was from their single Shout. So I've tried to copy those sounds, so let's have a listen to the drums on their own. These are mainly the Linn drum sounds. They're in the Linn drum kit patch on battery, again part of Native Instruments Complete. I like this pattern. You've got every other hi-hat is louder than the one in between, so you get a kind of syncopation. The bass line was played on a PPG Wave synthesizer, so I've used this sound. What have I used? An analog classic sound from Massive. So it sounds like this. It's got that kind of bitey, metallic-y sound. So with the drums, then everything in. So then the chorus section, similar sounds, but the electric piano doubles the vocal line. the only extra sounds as we go further into the song. I've got this plucked kind of sound, which is these two sounds layered up. And we get this other rhythmic part, which is this sound. And the intro part. So there we are, that's my recreation. So on reflection, I think it's pretty close, but it doesn't sound as warm to me as the original recording. It's obviously not been mastered, apart from I've put a mastering plug-in on the output, but it's not been professionally mastered like the original would have been. I'm sure if I had the time, the inclination and the skill, I could probably get it a bit closer using this home setup. Also, if I wasn't just doing this video as an excuse to show pictures of stuff out the Argus catalogue that I used to look at. I think the serious point here is that the only limit these days is your imagination and the skill. So does it mean that you can make better music as there's no technical limitations? Well, some of the greatest music made was, for example, the Beatles made on a 4-track, or this track, for example, on a 24-track tape machine with these synthesizers that presumably you had to synchronize in some way. Now it's super easy to do this kind of thing, but does it make music any better? I suppose it makes it different and more is expected of it. So did you spot whether in my solo at the beginning of the video whether I was playing over my recreation of the track or the original track? Well, the answer is it was a bit of both. I was switching from one to the other. So if you didn't notice, then I must have got it reasonably close. Thanks very much for watching. Please leave me any comments and hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.